Hello. Thank you so much for joining me. This will be a moderate class with some longer holds just to get some deep stretches. So make sure you've got blocks and you've got room to stretch because we'll probably maybe do some balance and it might be kind of fun. So just make sure that you can reach, pretty far off your mat. You're not like right up against a wall or a heavy piece of furniture. So if you can, have that space. And then just let yourself settle in on your breath, finding that comfortable seat. Remember that you can always rearrange your posture at any time, especially if your toes get tingly or if things just start to feel uncomfortable. Just move into a place of comfort. And if having your legs really close to your body doesn't feel good, then let them extend and have a big bend. You're still sitting up on your sitting bones and you're really trying to ground down to feel that support, and then your legs are just out in front of you and your eyes are closed if that is comfortable. You're letting your awareness come to your breath, inhaling and exhaling. And let that breath get full and deep. That breath is our life force. It's what keeps us alive. If we didn't have the breath, we wouldn't be here. And we just take it for granted. And here is where you become obsessed with it, where you practice paying attention, directing your focus and your energies towards your breath and your body and how it feels, setting aside the judge and the jury and just being with yourself and showing up with kindness, compassion, and love. So you are the benevolent witness of it all, knowing that you're trying your best, you're resting when you need to. Let that breath get full and deep. As you fill up the lower third of your lungs, press your navel into the space in front of you, and then fill up the middle third. Feel your ribs move up and apart, and then the breath goes into the upper third. Your heart moves up in your chest, and then you exhale, heart and chest release, ribs move down and together, and then you gently pull that navel back and up into your body. And then the inhale happens again, and you fill up navel, ribs, chest. Exhaling fully, chest, ribs, navel. And that deep three-part yoga breath, that exchange, that taking in of the breath and then sending out that is what is happening all over, and that is your connection to humanity, to the universe, to everything. So return to that place, knowing that you have the strength and the power and always the potential for more. Press down into your mat, feel that connection to the floor, the building, the ground the building is built into, and then the world that connects us all. So think about engagement, or actively pull those glutes down, tucking that tail, activating those legs by pressing those knees away, flexing those feet, pulling those hip flexors up so you feel that strong base. And then on your next exhale, lift yourself, stretch yourself, rise up from where you rooted down, and feel how you're doing both always at the same time. And you think about engagement, or you actually lift your rib cage, your heart up into that space in front of you. Pull those blades down and together, but not squeeze them together. They're just gently tucking together so they're activated. You're still pressing the crown of your head up and your tail down, always trying to find that length in your whole torso. And still you're breathing full and deep, navel, ribs, chest. Exhaling fully, chest, ribs, navel. And then make sure you've got room to reach. Your arms can come up, your hands can come to your heart, and then you can spread those arms. Keep those shoulders engaged. Reach up above your head. Pull down to your heart. Start to really open up that shoulder girdle. Inhaling and exhaling. And then let yourself unwind. You can crack your eyes open if they're still closed. You can let your legs come uncrossed, and you can have big bent knees. And you can drop those knees side to side in order to get that blood flowing again. Inhaling and exhaling, breathing full and deep. Don't put all the weight on your arms. It's all happening in your torso. You can turn towards the long edge, or to the short edge. You can have the blocks. Those are always helpful. Press through those heels and find that length on the back of your leg. This is a hinge. You are halfway up right here. Pull that tail down. Lift that heart. Find that hinge, not that bend. So it's all about the lift and the move. And then you can reach for blocks or not. You can reach wide. You can reach up. And if neither of those feel good, you can reach down beside. Inhaling and exhaling. Try to find that length. Keep lifting your upper body up. Keep those knees really, really bent in order to help those tight hamstrings. And then the next time you find yourself rowing forward, whatever you're doing with your arms, it doesn't matter. Just reach, to whoever feels comfortable, breathing full and deep. Keep trying to find that hinge, not that bend. So it is a subtle thing where you engage that rib cage and lift with that front body and pull down and root in with that back body. And then let yourself come up from the reach. Put a big bend in those knees again and have them up closer to your body and drop those knees side to side. Letting that blood flow, letting yourself release from the hold. And then back into just a comfortable seat. Doesn't matter which way you're facing. I'm just turning to keep facing you. It's you want to have room next to you. Blocks are wonderful here in order to reach for, in order to bring the floor up a little bit higher. We're going to stretch those side bodies, reach those arms, keep those shoulder girdles engaged, and then reach down to one side and stretch the other, and then move. This doesn't have to be a fast move. We're going to go side to side a few times. Keep trying to find that length so you're still lifting. And then we'll pause. So I got my right arm down. I got my left arm up above my head. I am still trying to lift that front body and bear down with that back body. That left arm can be doing a bunch of things. It could be reaching up. It could be reaching right by your head. You could be making big circles if you want to try to open up that shoulder. That feels really good. Inhaling and exhaling, keeping that shoulder girdle engaged. Make sure you go in all the directions. And then lift. We had the right arm down. If you didn't, just remember that. Bring yourself through center. Notice how you feel. Inhaling and exhaling, and then once again, reach up and move side to side a couple times just to feel the difference, and then pause on the other side. I got my left arm down on the block. That right arm is up above my head. Breathing full and deep. Let's do those big circles here because it just felt so good. If you didn't do them on the other side, you're probably like, oh. And now you're doing them like, oh, go back and do them. Inhaling and exhaling because it feels really good. Move that arm around and stretch. And then lift yourself up into that pause for a breath or two just to notice your body, and then bring yourself over and around. Remember, you're not judging, you are just the benevolent witness. Bring yourself around onto those hands and knees and press yourself back into your child. If you want some cushion for your knees, take a moment to do that. just so it makes it maybe just a little bit more comfortable, a little bit more bearable. Pressing yourself back and down with your whole self, reaching your whole self up and forward, inhaling and exhaling. You're always looking to do both, always at the same time. Stay with your breath, breathing full and deep, navel, ribs, chest, exhaling fully, chest, ribs, navel. If you walk your legs apart, maybe you get a nice massage on your belly. Keep pulling that tail down, keep lifting that heart no matter what position you're in. You come into your stable table, so hands right underneath those shoulders, knees right underneath those hips. Spread those fingers really wide, engage that shoulder girdle, pull it out of your ears and move through those little tiny baby cat and cows with that upper back, pulling those blades together, pulling them apart, pulling those blades together, pulling them apart, pulling those blades together, and then pausing and the pulling apart and keeping those blades pulled down. So they're not pulling together, but they're still pulling down. And then it's the lower pelvis, the lower girdle. You are moving in that little baby cat and cow, pulling it down, lifting it up, and then pulling into that place of support, and then moving through your cat and cow, inhaling and exhaling. So it's all about getting your rib cage and your hip girdle in that place of support, activating them. You're the one that is in charge of your knees and your shoulders and your elbows and your wrists. You're always being really careful with your joints. Inhaling and exhaling. Trying to get that movement more in that middle back, not so much the low back. I mean, your low back is probably moving, mine is, but it's the epicenter is in the low back. After a few cat and cows, pause, press yourself back into your child, completely reset in that child's pose, your arms wherever feel good. If you're in that stable table, you are holding yourself in your trunk, but you still might feel it in your hands. So you're being very gentle, and I'm just gently winding my wrists a little bit one way and then the other way, letting that blood flow, inhaling and exhaling, letting that joint juice move all around. Back up to table. Make sure you're in that stable table so you are moving through those little cat and cows to find that place of flat back. So you're pressing up through your trunk. It took me a long time to feel this, and so it's one of those things. Keep practicing it. Keep using those guide markers of your blades and your dimples, and you're pulling them down, and then you're lifting your heart and your navel up, and stay with that sensation as you send that left leg back behind you, keeping all of that trunk engaged so you keep that back nice and supported, pressing through that left heel. Pay attention to where that left foot is. You can even take a gander back to make sure that those left toes are pointing down to the floor and your heel is about as high as your hip. And then only if it feels all right, reach that opposite limb, coming into that spinal balance. So you're trying to bear down with your lower body and your back body, and you're trying to lift up with your front body and your upper body, always at the same time. Don't hyperextend that elbow that you're on. Let that left leg and that right arm come down. Rest in your child, inhaling and exhaling. So take hopefully you don't feel it all in your left arm, but you still are going to feel some sensation in your left arm. But you're trying to hold yourself with your trunk, in your trunk. Up into that table, get those hips in that place of support and send that right leg back. Remember, you can take a gander to take a look at where those toes are, if they're pointing down, if you're pointing through the heel. If the leg is out to the right, that happens a lot. You want to pull it into the midline. Stay with that engagement. Pull that tail down, those blades down. Lift that heart, and only if it serves you, reach that opposite limb and hold in that spinal balance, breathing full and deep. So you're pulling from your center, but then pulling that shoulder and that hip lined up so they are then active. And then, so that left shoulder, right hip. So it is come down and rest in child is one of those engagement pieces that the more you pay attention to it and let it work for you, the better everything is, not just yoga. Make sure you're drinking water, breathing full and deep. When you're ready to come to that downward dog, lift yourself from that stable table. Keep that back and that trunk in that nice long line as you lift that lower girdle. So now your upper girdle is below your lower girdle. Keep those knees bent. Move as much or as little as feels good. Try to find those balls. Don't let your toes do any of the work. You're always being really careful with your toes. Inhaling and exhaling, breathing full and deep. Coming to a child at any time. Coming to a table at any time. Breathing full and deep. Always trying to breathe full and deep. And you are the benevolent witness. We're going to make our way to the front of our space. If you want to come down to hands and knees to step up, please do. Or you're walking, I love to use blocks coming into that forward fold position. Take your time, find your base. You're finding the balls and the heels. You can rock back and forth. It's somewhere in between coming forward into a somersault and falling back on your ass. So somewhere in the middle is your sweet spot. You got to find it. You're going to keep those knees bent and let yourself move however feels good to you. Dangle, hands tucked in elbows. You can sway and let those arms swing, but be careful with that. Really put that weight in that back body. Eventually you're going to be done with movement. You're going to be back in the forward fold. Really put that weight in your back body. Stay with that awareness of somewhere between those balls and those heels as being, you're plugging them in. It's between falling forward or coming back. Find that sweet spot and then lift up halfway into that flat back. Pull that tail down. Lift that heart. Really activate that trunk. Exhale. Reach for the blocks. Reach for the toes. Let your legs lengthen a little bit. Move however feels good. Keep that back nice and active. And we're going to lift up halfway into that flat back. Once again, you do not have to reach your arms back. You can keep them. Exhale, go for the floor. Now, if you feel dizzy, don't come up in that great big reverse swan dive. Instead, come up halfway, flat back, hands above knees. Press yourself up to that awkward chair. And then press into those legs to stand. And then find yourself in that upright position. And then only bring yourself into as much of a back bend as feels good. Keep pulling that back body and that lower body down. Keep lifting that front body and that upper body. And you are now rounding over that imaginary beach ball. And so it doesn't have to be a really big movement. Excuse me. Inhale, exhale. Your hands make their way to your heart, your belly, one of each, out to the side. You are standing on your mat, pressing down. You're activating your whole body, coming into mountain. So find those balls and heels. Either think tripod or four corners. I like to even kind of go around the rim of my sole of my foot, lift all 10 toes, spread them wide, and bring them as far forward as feels comfortable, and then they just have a gentle grip on the mat. You keep those kneecaps pulled up into those thighs so you never hyperextend those knees. And then you plug those legs right into that lower trunk, and you activate that lower trunk by pulling that tail down. So this is muscle and framework engaged and pulled down. Muscle and framework in the front body engaged and pulled up. So think navel dimples down, solid base. You are not just squeezing the bejesus out of your muscles. You're engaging that framework as well. And then navel dimples up. You're just floating up out of that lower body. Find that length in that side body. Keep lifting that heart, but then feel that gentle pressure on the tops of your shoulders. Pull those blades down and together. Try to find, you're still engaged in that lower body. You're still lifting with that upper body. Try to find that place where your heart is right over your navel. Inhaling and exhaling. And that is mountain, breathing full and deep. And then we're going to move, lift, come into as much of a back bend as feels good. And then exhale, swan dive into that forward fold. Lift up halfway into that flat back. And then let yourself come back into a plank or a knee down plank. Keep those shoulders out of your ears. Release down to the belly. Make sure that lower body is super heavy as you inhale and come to whatever cobra you want. Maybe it's not as high as mine. You're also doing whatever feels good in your low back. If you need to come down to the belly, or if you can keep pulling that tail down as you lift that trunk up to the sky, you will not hurt your low back. I don't want it ever to be in a position where your low back feels uncomfortable. You're trying to put the weight in your back body. You're making your way to the front of your space, finding that forward fold. You don't have to rush. Inhale halfway, flat back. Exhale back for the toes. Inhale back up above your head. Find that length. Stretch as much as feels good. Remember, if you feel dizzy, you don't have to do that. You're hinging. Weight in the back body. Find that hinge. Keep that navel pulling up underneath that rib cage. Exhale, lift up halfway into that flat back. Try to have that sensation of pulling that navel up into your rib cage all the time. Plank. Knee down plank to release. Keep those shoulder blades out of your ears and down and engaged. And as you lift into your cobra, remember you can come in to up dog if that feels good to you, but that is a lot. And then you're in charge of how you get back into your downward dog, breathing full and deep. And then decide, how do you want to come up? Do you want to come up to the forward fold? By stepping up or walking up, make sure you feel solid and supported. Lift up halfway, flat back. Back down for the toes, and then back up above your head to come through it one more time. Into that forward fold, halfway, flat back, back down. Step back, coming into your plank, your knee down plank, or your table to come out to the belly. That's always an option. Lift into your cobra, your up dog. Protect yourself as you lift into your downward dog. Inhale and exhale. Really find those balls, not those toes. Let those heels be heavy. Inhaling and exhaling 2 or 3 breaths, and then make your way down to rest in your child. Breathing full and deep. Navel, ribs, chest. Exhaling fully, chest, ribs, navel. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. You're drinking water as you need it. You're taking breaks when you need it. So you should probably feel nice and warmed up. Blocks will be great as we do these stretches for our legs. We're going to bring that right foot up between your legs, whether you swing it through downward dog or you come to table and swing it up between those hands or those blocks. Coming into that runner's lunge. So if you swung it forward, you're just resting in runner's lunge. If you had your knees down, you lift that back knee. Your right foot and your left foot are on railroad tracks, and try to find a place where you are evenly balanced between both the right and the left leg. So this shifting back and forth sometimes helps to find that place. Now you can leave that back heel up, or you can smear it down. We're now going to lift into either warrior one or that crescent lunge. Keep breathing. Whatever you're doing with that back heel, you are trying to pull that left hip. And it's easier to get those hips square, that left hip forward with that heel up. Inhaling and exhaling. You're still trying to lift that navel and that heart. Feel heavy in those heels. Inhale and exhale. Hands come to your hips and then hinge over that right leg. Try to find that balance between the right and the left leg. You're evenly in between. You're hinging here. And then let your hands come down so you are over that right leg in that runner's lunge once again. And then hands can come to the floor if they're not, and then you can come into that plank, that knee down plank, and move through that flow, or you can just lift up into a downward dog, inhaling and exhaling. You can also rest in child. It does not matter what you choose. Stay with your breath. Left leg is going to come forward either into that runner's lunge, and remember, you can come through knee down. Try to find that place between that right and that left leg up in that runner's lunge where you're in between, where your trunk is right in between, and it takes a lot of awareness. You're lifting, pressing through that heel, keeping those glutes heavy, those back bodies really heavy, and then those arms come just to your side and we hinge. Remember, that back heel can be up, or you can be pressing it, or you can have the pressing it down and then hinging over that leg, breathing full and deep, and then both arms come down and you step back either into the table, the plank, right up to the downward dog. Move through the flow, whatever feels good to you, inhaling and exhaling. And then when you're ready, that right leg is going to come up between your hands again, and it doesn't matter what it looks like. Smearing that back foot down. Keep yourself finding that place between the back foot leg and the front leg, and your legs start at your glute. So you're trying to find that place from your left glute down to your left sole of your foot where you're supporting yourself, and then your right glute in that bent position. Inhaling and exhaling. We're going to bring the right arm forward, left arm back, and then lift into that warrior two. I think I kind of messed that up, but it's all right. Come into that warrior two. So you are opened up to that long edge of your space. You might have to move your stance a little bit wider. You're still trying to find that place where you are right between the left leg and the right leg. You're lifting your heart, your navel up, you've got your shoulder blades engaged, and you are in your warrior two. Inhale and exhale. We're going to hinge into that side angle. This is a wonderful place for a block in order to keep this whole left side. So you want to think of your left side of lifting it up. You want to think about your right side of taking it kind of down and forward. Inhaling and exhaling. This left shoulder stays active, and you can reach over your head. That's a great big, or like towards the front of your space, or towards the where your right foot is, if that feels good, or lift up to the sky. Remember those big circles we did? They can also happen here. You're not just opening that left shoulder, you are opening that left hip. Stay in that warrior two leg, come up into that warrior two, lift yourself, lengthen that right leg so you are engaging that trunk. If you need to pull your stance in, please do in order to never lose control. Flip that right palm. Feel even between your right and your left leg as you reach that right arm up to come into that reverse triangle. It's not a big move. You are getting this nice stretch though on that right side of the body, and you're not, I know you hear a lot of yoga just about reaching, but I want you to think about hinging down. Keep that right kneecap pulled up. Use that block and lift that left side now into that triangle. Inhaling and exhaling. Breathing full and deep. And then here's where we're just going to do a little bit of fun, so make sure you're not going to kick anything. Upper body comes down So upper girdle comes down, hands on either side of that right foot. You might want to bring that left leg in. I'm sneaking it forward in order to feel steady and secure on my right leg. Make sure, I like to keep my belly right next to that right thigh, and then lift that left leg up into that standing split. This is a hinge. You should have a nice, you should have not a bend in your belly, but that nice hinge. You're trying to really try to bring those front bodies towards each other. And then take your time, right toes gently touch down, you're back in that runner's lunge. And then you step back into the plank, the knee down plank, or right up to the downward dog. You can move through that flow, or you can rest in that child. And I'm going to turn around so I stay facing you. So you're going to bring that left leg forward. I'm not going to do anything fun with the arms just because I'm already going to mess it up. So if you got that right knee down, you curl those toes, lift it up. You are preparing to come open to warrior two. So make sure you feel even between your right and your left leg, and your right and your left leg start at your glutes. And then when you feel steady, windmill open into that warrior two. And I'm going to get my blocks ready because I know they're going to be fantastic. So stretch yourself wide. Keep pulling that navel up. Keep trying to pull that whole right side. It's like it's gently being pulled to that right side of your space. You're not reaching over, at least not yet, because we are going to hinge here in a second. After you feel steady between that right and that left leg, you are hinging over that left leg to come into that side angle, and then that right side wants to keep lifting, not just your shoulder. Think about those dimples and those glutes. That right arm can reach over your head. Remember those big circles. Don't ever hurt yourself. Don't ever do anything that doesn't feel good to you. All right, keep breathing. We're holding this for a second here, a little bit longer. Lengthen, so lift with your center to lengthen that front leg. So I'm pressing down evenly between my right and my left leg. I'm finding where I am right in the middle. Keep that back glute engaged. Kneecaps pulled up into thighs, and you reach that left arm. This is what I call my Michael Jordan stretch. Doesn't that look like Michael, like you're going for a basket? Hopefully he did yoga. He probably did. All right, now we are coming into that triangle. It's another hinge. You are hinging down into that stretch. Breathing full and deep. Keep trying to lift that right side up and back. Keep trying to gently pull that left side down and forward. Inhaling and exhaling. Here's where you play around with keeping your trunk long. Here's where I scoot that back leg up a little bit. And I feel nice and comfortable on that right leg, or that left leg. I move that right leg back up a little bit. And then you float that right leg up. And I love to crack. Everyone hates cracking, but I am a crack fanatic. I love it. It means you're moving around. So stop dissing on the cracking. Inhaling and exhaling. See, another one. I'm going to do a whole thing on cracking. Let those right toes come down. You're back in that runner's lunge. And you're going to send yourself back into that plank, knee down plank, or just up to that downward dog. Breathing full and deep. Navel, ribs, chest. After a couple breaths in that downward dog, make your way down to rest in your child. Breathing full and deep. Navel, ribs, chest. Exhaling fully, chest, ribs, navel. I'm going to get a little drink. And then you might want your blocks. They're always helpful up towards the front. Either coming from a downward dog or you're just swinging that right foot up between your hands or your blocks, coming into that runner's lunge. So keep those hips active, then curl those toes so you're in that runner's lunge position. And this is where you want to step up with that back left foot a little bit. And this is where I like to have a block a little bit in front of me. I've got that, the left leg is back. We're going to lift up and stand on that right leg with that left foot on a block, or you're holding it. And you can also have your hand on a wall or a chair. Inhale and exhale, press through that heel, get that leg nice and long, and then let it move like a pendulum. So keep lifting it up so the foot doesn't drag on the floor. It just comes right above the floor. Keep that awareness of that trunk and how you're now hinging into that warrior three, inhaling and exhaling. Use those blocks, use a wall, breathing full and deep. Use a desk if it's not too far away. Staying with your breath. I thought that was a spider. It's just like a dust bunny. All right, very, very, very gently let those left feet come down next to the right feet, bringing them both to the front of your space, and then standing up into an upright position. And we're going to do that same thing instead of those stepping up. We're just going to do it from already stepped up. You're going to bring the weight into the left leg, starting at the glute, and then bring that right knee as high as feels good. Remember, you can also rest that leg on a block. You are still engaging. Even if you're using the block, right, you're still using your body. Use the wall, use whatever's available. Press through that heel, get that leg nice and long, and then let it swing like that pendulum, and then let yourself hinge right over that left leg. Remember, use those blocks. Try to find yourself squaring your front body to the floor, your back body to the ceiling. Inhale and exhale. And then here's where you bend that front left knee and you let those right toes come down very, very gently. And you're back in that runner's lunge. And then you can step back into that plank, that knee down plank. You can move through that flow, or you can come into downward dog, breathing full and deep, and then make your way down to once again rest in that child's position. Stay with your breath. Inhaling and exhaling. After a couple breaths in child, lift yourself up. And this is a big stretch, so you might not like it, but try it. We're going to come into puppy dog. So instead of letting your butt come down, you lift it up. Keep pulling those tails down, even though you're lifting that girdle up, and your forehead can rest on the mat. Inhale. This is a great big shoulder move. Heart opener. Let yourself come up. That puts a lot of stress on those arms, so be careful pulling back into that child. And then arms reaching forward if they're not already. Left arm comes forward, right arm sneaks underneath. Try to keep bringing your heart down though to the floor. You're not twisting to the left. Shoulders are engaged. Try to keep that back square to the sky. Your chest square to the floor. You might need to move your knees to feel comfortable. Lift up, bring that right arm out from underneath, and then send that left arm, same thing. You're getting that nice press, but don't ever hurt yourself. So here I need to spread my knees just a little bit. Oh, that feels much better. Breathing full and deep, navel, ribs, chest. Exhaling fully, chest, ribs, navel, lifting into that upright position. Let's come into a nice pigeon, because we've been doing all that work and you've moved all that blood flow around. I was going to face you, but I think maybe I will come onto the side. I'm going to bring that right foot up. I use those blocks in order to have room to lift my upper body. I'm walking my right foot over to the left. I'm bringing my right knee down to the right. And then I'm lifting that, curling those left toes so I can pull my left side back a little bit. And then before I come down, I make sure that everything's square. So I know it's not delicate to say, but you're looking for your crack, and you want your crack, right, your tail, to be square to the sky or the wall behind you, and you want your navel and your heart to be square to the front of your space, and that weight is in those lower girdles, in your inner thighs, especially out of your low back. And then this is another hinge over. Now that front leg, breathing full and deep. That back left leg, it's like it's hurt, or like and you have to drag it. That should be the slight sensation as you gently pull that. You're not on that right thigh, you're not dumping down on that right thigh. If it touches, great, but it does not have to. You can also roll up a blanket and put it underneath your right thigh, or put a block underneath your right thigh. Sometimes it helps to flex. I like to always flex that right foot. That helps with that right knee, especially if you have a lot of sensation, but never hurt yourself. Let the breath help you get fuller, let you get deeper. So let the breath be full and deep so you can get deeper into the stretch. You are being the benevolent witness. You're not judging how it feels. You're just noticing, taking care of yourself. We're going to recover on that right side. So lift yourself into that upright position if you were down. And I'm sorry, I didn't even offer up any other pigeon. You know, you can do this on your back or seated. You can curl those back left toes. I'm even moving that knee up a little bit just to have a little bit more leverage. I'm going to pull that right leg up to come into that three-legged dog. And then pause in that regular dog. Inhale and exhale. And then making sure that I've got a good stance, I bring that right leg up a little bit before I lift that left leg, and then I swing that left leg. I'm bringing that left knee towards the left, but I'm bringing that left foot towards the right, and then I move, I curl those right toes to get that right leg, that right knee right out of my hip. Use those blocks. You're staying square, so I find that crack. I know it's so gross, but if you know where your crack is all the time, it is so helpful, because you're pretty much moving from there, but nobody ever talks about that. Let yourself, but it's not just about squeezing those coin slots. Slowly letting yourself hinge over that leg if it feels good to you. Breathing full and deep, flexing that left foot, keeping that whole top of the right foot on the floor. The top of the right knee, not the inside, not the outside, the top. And that kneecap, that right kneecap is pulling up into your thigh. That helps to keep it protected. Breathing full and deep, navel, ribs, chest. Exhaling fully, chest, ribs, navel. Your full exchange of air in and out is what helps you get deeper. These are the times when we try to escape, we try to distract. I'm trying to get you to break that habit. And then you're going to recover anyway. It doesn't even have to look the same as it did on the other side. Mine's not. Mine's going to be drop down to that left thigh, and then swing that right leg around to be seated on my mat. If you want to pull back into that downward dog and do, I feel like I'm going to sneeze, and do a three-legged dog and then move through a flow. I mean, it's your practice. I want you to do wherever your energy level is at. But then eventually you're going to find yourself resting. I want you to rest, and then find yourself once again seated to have that nice, comfortable, easy pose for just a few breaths, inhaling and exhaling, staying with your breath. Close your eyes. Notice how you feel. You also bring your hands to your heart or your belly or one of each, breathing full and deep. And then we're going to do a gentle twist, so keep those shoulders engaged. Reach up, and we're going to twist side to side. It doesn't matter which way you go first, but I like to think about keeping my navel pointed towards the front of my space, and then I am lifting and rotating my upper trunk, my heart, my rib cage, and so my navel is staying center. And so feeling that and being able to disconnect, that is amazing. Like being able to disconnect your navel moving as you twist. We're going to pause. Keep that navel pointed towards the front of your space. Lift yourself and pause. I'm reaching to the right. I'm staying upright. Inhale and exhale. Breathing full and deep. Navel, ribs, chest. So you might not twist as much, but that's okay. And then lift up and come to the other side. Same thing, navel points, and then you twist. You can use blocks, you can use your hands on your legs. Keep lifting yourself up. Keep trying to pull that navel towards the front of your space as you gently lift your rib cage, both the front and the back, and twist it to the left. And then once again, unwind, hands to your heart, belly, one of each. Drop that chin down towards your chest, and then let one ear come over one shoulder as you move side to side a little bit. This always opens up my sinuses. I love it. I just sniffed a little bit easier. Let yourself move as quickly or as slowly. I do say though, slowly is probably better. Quickly you have a chance of hurting yourself because you're not really paying attention. And then pause on one side. I've got my right ear over my right shoulder. I'm going to let some slight movement happen with my head in order to open up that neck a little bit more. Inhaling and exhaling. And then I'm going to pause the movement, bring the chin through center, and go to the other side. And so and if you want to move side to side before you rest on the other side, of course, that's always an option. Maybe do a few little circles or head nods. So open up the right side. So my left ear over my left shoulder. Bring yourself through center after you feel complete up to center. And then bring your chin so it's parallel to the floor. And then just rotate your head. It's not a big move. You don't even have to have your eyes open. Letting yourself move your head. This also opens up my sinuses. So, thank you. Namaste. Make sure you rest from that movement. And here's where, if you've got 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes, 10 minutes, you have done some fabulous work. And now you should take advantage of that also by resting in relaxation. So resting on your back or your side, or sitting in meditation, whether you use a wall or a chair. It doesn't matter, but that integration into your deepest muscle memory is what is going to help keep you walking around, help keep you in that awareness of how your body works, how that navel and that heart are always trying to lift up, how those blades and those dimples are always trying to ground down, and it's just, you just got to connect to that. So please rest in that relaxation, rest in meditation. Please join me the next time. Namaste.